Now, during these trying times, we're told to stay home and do our part, which is exactly what I'm doing. But I wanted to get a little creative. So on this series, I'm going to show you how you can use your ingredients in your pantry and your freezer to come up with really exciting meals. So that's where I come in. Are you ready? Let's fire up the pantry. These are tough times. We're going to have to think about how we can be a bit creative in the kitchen and have food that we order that lasts a lot longer and make something a little bit more inspiring. Now, I always love to make Chinese food, and egg fried rice is one of my favorite to make. And I thought this is the perfect example of showing you how a little goes a long way. I'm going to use some rice, which I think everyone's got in their pantry, and if you haven't, you probably want to buy some. Onions, which again is something we want to buy less frequently, but will last a lot longer. Got some frozen peas, some frozen shrimp, soy sauce. If you don't have sesame oil, I think that'd be a really good idea to go and get some. And also some eggs. Eggs are going to be full of protein and we can make a meal out of this. It's a very easy dish to make, and I want to show you in about 10 minutes how I can put it all together while the rice is being cooked and then have a delicious meal that the kids are going to love too. So rice cookers are fabulous, but you know what? Making rice from scratch is so easy. All you do is you take your rice and you do, from every 1 cup, you do 2 cups of water. I'm using a jasmine rice. I'm going to cover it, take it over to the stove, and you bring it to a simmer, and you let it cook for about 12 to 15 minutes, and you're going to have wonderful, fragrant rice. So I'm going to start with some eggs. I'm going to take about 3 of them, and I'm going to give them a little bit of a whisk, and then set them aside, obviously, for the egg fried rice. Now, eggs have got a lot of protein, something that lasts in your refrigerator a long time. So again, something that you want to think about having a lot of in your fridge. And then what I'm going to do is just set that aside. Next, I want to take some garlic, peel it, get rid of the peel on the ends. We're not going to cook it for too long, so I don't want the garlic to be too strong. Now with garlic, when you cook it, it loses all its pungency. So now I'm just going to take some garlic and I'm just going to give it a little chop. And then what I do is with a big knife, I push it down and scrape it into almost like a butter. Now you can put a little bit of salt down and that helps it grip. So now I've got my very finely chopped garlic and I'm going to pop that aside. Gives all that flavor of freshness, everything we're looking for. A little bit of garlic and now some onion. Again, I'm going to just take about half an onion, trim off the edges, and I'm going to take the onion, slice down, and then we'll give it a little bit of a chop. And I'm going to cook that in just a little bit of olive oil. Just with the heel of the knife, go back and forward. Onions are great because they last a really long time and they don't even need to go in the refrigerator. One thing is, when you do cut an onion and you're only using, say, half of it, what I want you to do is seal it and put it in a bag, because what happens is it absorbs bacteria from the refrigerator and releases it. So make sure it is completely sealed and then you can use it again. But don't keep it in the refrigerator if you've cut it in half for too long. I'm going to put that in a pan with some oil and just let that fry for a couple of minutes. So to the pan, I'm just going to add a little drizzle of olive oil, not much. The reason I don't have to is I'm using a non-stick pan, which is a really good thing to have to cut down the fat. If you're going to use a stainless steel, you're going to need a lot more fat to go in it, which just isn't needed in this. I'm going to give them a little bit of a turn. I don't want them to brown or color. I just want to get them a little bit translucent. And that's the way we want to cook these onions, not completely where they're caramelized. And that's a great thing for different dishes, but not for this. Then I've got some shrimp. Now, you can make this a full meal with the shrimp, and these are just from frozen. I've just thawed them through. Again, you want to make sure they come through to room temperature. We've got to be very careful of kind of healthy eating as well in what we're doing around the kitchen to keep things nice and safe. Then I'm going to throw them in here, and they are small. They're going to cook for just a few minutes and they'll be ready. Turn the heat up a little bit now and just let those brown and colour and be beautiful. And again, this is a whole meal now. So, I mean, you've made rice into something huge. Now you can do chicken, you can do vegetarian, and you could just put an egg on top. I sometimes do that with a fried egg, and that takes me back to Malaysia, like a nasi goreng. You just put a little bit of coconut milk and some spices. You can take egg fried rice any way you want. You could put peas in, you could put edamame, you could throw in some mushrooms. It really is whatever you've got. Carrots are great too. The reason carrots are so good is carrots also last a long time. Now, think about what we're doing. We're trying to choose food that lasts a long way. We're going to try and get food that lasts and then shelf life a long time. But then also what we want to do is have things like carrots and parsnips and root vegetables that we don't have to worry about them going off like we would spinach and leafy greens that really will after a few days, and that's not so accessible to everyone now. So these are almost cooked. Oh, look at those. Great colour. And then what I want to do is just get those eggs cooked a little bit too. The rice is almost done. This is going to pull together in literally a few minutes. I'm going to just put a little bit of olive oil. Olive oil is an oil that doesn't have a good heat retention, so you don't want to use it on really high heats, but it's okay if you're kind of coating the food rather than deep frying. That you certainly want to use a vegetable oil for. Just going to give those shrimp a little bit more of a turn. They are cooked, they're perfect. I'm going to take those off the heat, and then I'm just going to add my egg to the pan. And we just want to scramble these, a light little scramble, just so then that mixes into the rice. You can actually throw the rice in when it's almost at this point now, because the rice in the heat of it's going to cook it even more. But I just want to cook it a little bit more before I add the peas and everything else. I'm going to take the egg and transfer it to the dish with my onions and shrimp. Add a little bit of that garlic, give it a good turn. Wait for the rice to cook, and then it just all goes together with the peas, the sesame oil, the soy sauce, and you've got a wonderful taste of Asia. That rice is ready. Oh, that just smells outrageous. I'm going to fluff it up a little bit. Look how well that cooked. Just perfect. Now, I'm going to take all of this mix. Make sure I get every little bit of flavor in there and start to mix that in. And you can see how that egg has broken up. Perfect amount of shrimp. Now, you can actually add peas completely frozen because all of the heat from the rice will thaw those out in seconds. So what we're going to do now is just add a little bit of soy. You can buy soy that's gluten-free if you want. I just use a kikkoman, which is my favorite. Give a little bit of flavor there. Now, the one ingredient maybe you don't have, but maybe you gotta get: sesame oil, toasted sesame oil. This just gives the most amazing flavor to food. All you need to do is, you don't want to cook with it, you just want to drizzle a little bit on the end. And then I'm going to kind of swap it over on my beautiful Chinese dish. I'm going to pour all of this deliciousness onto the bowl. One more little sprinkle of sesame oil, and you have got the most delicious meal out of the box. Think out the box. Think what you can be creative with the pantry and a few ingredients from the freezer, and it's going to get the family enjoying every single meal.